A budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. A productive and warm morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to extend a cheerful welcome to you all at the Budget Confab 2022, organized by Maharishi Markandeshwar Institute of Management, a premier institute ranked second by CSR with recognition Outstanding B School of Excellence 2021. To say we are all thrilled to see you all joining in this need of the hour discussion would be an understatement. Here's a hearty welcome, big and warm to encompass you all. Benjamin Franklin once said, "Be aware of the little expenses. A small leak will sink a great ship." If used correctly, a budget doesn't restrict you, instead, it empowers you. Let me take you all through a quick voyage of this galaxy of institute that Maharishi Markandeshwar deemed to be University Mulana is. Accredited by NAC as grade A++ university, MMDU has built its goodwill as the best university of North India with a legacy of excellence in research, innovation, and skill development. MMDU incorporates the best of both worlds by presenting a synergy of curricula from both the UGC model of education and the leading schools from around the world. Quality education is always research oriented and exposure driven, which is what makes MMDU the leader in cross country studies in every possible field. We are blessed beyond measure to have with us our honorable keynote guest, Sri Sanjeev Chawla, Director DI Karnal, MSME, Government of India, Mr. Dhruv Goyal, Chartered Accountant, Dr. A.K. Vashisht, Dean Research, Maharaja Agar Sen University, Dr. Sonia Chawla, Head, Department of Management, NIT Jalandhar, Mr. Vijay C. Roy, Principal Correspondence Head, Tribune, Mr. Deepak Jhakar, AGM Cluster in Charge, NABARD, Ms. Shruti Khanijo, Principal Associate at Khitan and Company, Alumina, University of Cambridge, Dr. Amardeep Singh Marwaha, Associate Director, Center Placement Cell, Punjab University, Chandigarh, and our respected program coordinators, faculty members, and all associated with MMDU family. And a special gratitude for the idea brewer, a philanthropist, a visionary who has been striving for such enlightening causes and bringing this confab to reality, Sri Tarseem Gargji, Chancellor MMDU Mulana. We are all indeed privileged to have you all come together and join hands for this burning topic and spread the word among the public on implications of Union Budget 2022-23 on common man and budget provision and its impact on corporate sector. Moving forward, I take this opportunity to formally introduce the backbone behind this webinar, our very own program coordinator, Dr. Sunayana Kurana. Dr. Sunayana Kurana, a highly celebrated professional and a master of her own trades, comes with a proven track record and is a result oriented professional. Ma'am has been directing the Department of Management at MMDU Mulana, dealing in service marketing, consumer behavior, advertising and sales management, retail management and marketing research with 14 plus years of academic experience and 3 plus years of industry experience. She has written 45 research papers for various ABCD, SCI, Scopus, and UGC listed referred national and international journals, etc. And the list just goes endless. I now request ma'am to deliver welcome address. Ma'am, please.
Very good morning to all the delegates present here. I welcome you on the behalf of MMDU University to all the delegates. So very good morning to our Vice Chancellor, Sir, Dr. Hari Sharma, and all the panelists which are available on this dais, and all the director principals of our various institutes. I welcome you by heart. So we are here to discuss about the budget confab. So I am delighted to share with you that we have 1,000+ participants here with us who have registered for this event and they are watching this event live. I have to quote some universities' name from where we have faculty and students like Punjab University, Chandigarh, Kurukshetra University, GNA University, JAN University, Alliance University, Bangalore, Graphic Era University, SRM University, Chennai, Vellore Institute of Technology, and Chitkara University. And we have various participant and faculty members from all over India, from government colleges and other colleges also. I would like to share some of the names of those prominent colleges which have a very good rank all over India. Like we have a faculty from Sir Aurobindo College, Delhi. We have faculty from Karnataka also, like Shri B.C. Gangal College of Education, Ramaya College of Arts and Science and Commerce, American College, Madurai, Tamil Nadu, PSG College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu, Sri Sankara and Science College, Kanchipuram, Tamil Nadu. We have a faculty from Pondicherry also, that is Shri Lakshmi Narayan Institute of Medical Science and Technology, and the faculty from Kerala also joining us in this session, that is Bharat Mata College, and from R.N. Dharwal Singhat College, Pune also. So we have so many participants. So all maximum participants are all from the various universities and colleges, that are 90 plus colleges from all over India, and they are all watching us live. And I delighted to thank them from my heart that for sparing their time and watching this live budget session. And I would like to thank all the panelists also for giving their valuable time for us this panel discussion. So I welcome you by my heart. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I would now like to formally introduce the presence of a personality whose aura radiates the light and momentum towards change and something limitless. It is none other than our Vice Chancellor at MMDU Mulana, Dr. Harish Sharma, who comes as a seasoned professional in the field of teaching, research, and administrative excellence with 25 plus years of experience and keeps special interest in rankings, accreditations, and international affairs. I now request Sir to deliver his pearls of wisdom. Sir, please.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Yeah, distinguished speakers for today, Shri Sanjeev Chawla ji, Director, DI Karnal MSME, Dr. Sonia Chawla, Head, Department of Management, NIT Jalandhar, Dr. Amandeep Singh, Associate Director, Central Placement Cell, Punjab University, Chandigarh, Ms. Shruti, Principal Associate, Khaitan and Company, Illumina University of Cambridge, Shri Vijay Roy, Special Correspondent from the Tribune, my good friend Dhruv, Shri Deepak Jakarji, AGM Cluster in Charge, NABARD, and hopefully we'll be joined by Dr. A.K. Vishisht very soon.
I've already joined.
Oh, sorry, sir. I just didn't notice. So, Dr. A.K. Vishisht, former chairman, Punjab University, Chandigarh, the director of Institute of Management, the faculty and staff members, students, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning to all of you. It is indeed a matter of pleasure for me to be a part of this very important and first of its kind event being organized by Institute of Management. I would like to place on record my congratulations to the team of organizers, especially Dr. Sunayana and Mr. Jitendra. Well, the union budget is something which affects almost every citizen of the country. It holds almost the same fanfare and the significance like any World Cup final. You can see, like in both the events, the next day newspapers will have the full coverage, will have the reactions, will have the pie charts, will have many faces, the almost dedicated pages also. So that itself speaks about the importance of this day. But even after so much of information is there in the newspapers and on the news channels, I have seen that many a times the individuals are not clear with the proposals of the budget. I tell you my uh, personal experience. My father, he was from accounts background, so he used to prepare the budget for his organization. During those times, it was on a big drawing sheet, and he used to spend nights on that, do all the calculations manually. So during my initial day of the career, so he was a source. I used to understand the proposals from him. So what is the implication? But I could see that even some of the proposals, he was also not very clear that what is the implication of this proposal given in the budget. So to me, it is very, very important to hold such events. So we have the HC of distinguished panelists with us today.
अरे दुआ थला है ताला स्टील वाला थला है स्टील वाला
Well, I'm happy that our UG and PG students, not only from our university, but from many more universities, uh, which Dr. Sunayana just mentioned, they have joined this program. And I'm sure that the students will appreciate and understand the whole purpose of having this event. And I'm sure that by end of the day, they will be able to clarify some of the doubts regarding this budget proposal, not only to their peers, but also to their family members. Well, I talked about the importance of the budget day, but there is one more event which holds almost the same fanfare and the same attention. That is the elections. So I will recommend that the Institute of Management comes out with an idea whereby they try to involve their students and faculty member in the opinion polls or the exit polls, because that actually is a way to connect your students and faculty members to the ground level problems. So they can understand that maybe they can go to their constituencies through offline or online and just try to see that the one purpose is that they will do this analysis, and the other purpose is they will understand the voice of the people also, what the people at the ground level, they think about the country and the problems. So once again, I take this opportunity to convey my best wishes to the team of organizers, the participants, and heartiest gratitude to all the distinguished panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Let us now collect the fruits of knowledge from our very own eminent speakers who've joined us today and made time from their busy schedules and have kindly consented to preside over this confab. Let me quickly introduce you all with the first four speakers of panel discussion 1. First up, we have Dr. A.K. Vishisht, Dean Research, Maharaja Agarsen University. Professor Vasist has been an awardee for the best presented article in the Chartered Accountant by the Institute of Chartered Accountant India for the year 1991-92. Bharat Gaurav Award by India International Society 2010. Rashtriya Vidya Saraswati Puraskar by International Institute of Education and Management, New Delhi. In the year 2014, Sir has been a member of the professional bodies like UGC and AICTE with 42 plus years of academic excellence. It is an honor to have you on board, sir. Next up, we have Mr. Vijay C. Roy, Principal Correspondence Head, Tribune. Mr. Roy is a media professional with over 17 plus years of experience in print. During his journalistic career, he has been a major contributor to stories pertaining to diverse sectors such as economy, budget, infrastructure, HRD industry, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, MSMEs, budget, and startups. It is a pleasure to have you on board, sir. We also have with us Mr. Deepak Jhakar, AGM Cluster in Charge, NABARD. Mr. Jhakar is currently the Assistant General Manager, AGM, handling NABARD's various developmental projects and programs in Ambala, Panchkula, Kurukshetra, and Yamuna Nagar districts of Haryana state. Mr. Deepak is an MBA in Human Resource Management and joined National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development as an officer and has worked in various capacities at the regional offices including Jammu, Jaipur, and New Delhi. It is a pleasure having you on board, sir. And lastly, for the panel discussion 1, we have with us Dr. Amardeep Singh Marwaha, Associate Director, Center Placement Cell, Punjab University, Chandigarh. Dr. Singh has been honored by Sardar Santokh Singh Chaudhary, Member of Parliament in the year 2020 for contribution to youth development in Punjab, Award of Appreciation by Mahindra Finance in December 2015, honored by Sardar Pargat Singh, MLA Punjab in 2013 for youth development through sports, honored by Consulate General of Indian Embassy at Durban, South Africa, with the YFC Rura Kalakalkan team, which won the inaugural Deloitte Street Child World Cup held in the year 2010, and the list just goes endless. Sir has appeared at varied international conferences and holds 19 plus years of teaching and research experience. It is an honor having you on board, sir. So, our key emphasis for panel discussion one would be implications of Union Budget 2022-23 on common man. I would request the four keynote speakers for panel discussion one to stay back, and we will in another 30 seconds begin with our panel discussion one. I repeat, the panel discussion one, the key emphasis would be implications of Union Budget 2022-2023 on common man. So the speakers for this panel discussion are Dr. A.K. Vashist. I don't see Dr. Vashist here. So may I request the backend team to get sir added, please? The second panelist we have is Mr. Vijay C. Roy. Hello, sir. The next up panelist we have is Mr. Deepak Jhakar. Hello, sir. And then we have Dr. Amardeep Singh Marwaha. So let us carry on with the panel discussion one. The first question that I have for everybody here is, there has been no change in the tax slab, while the middle class and salaried people are still struggling with pay cuts and net breaking inflation. What is your take on this? I repeat my question. There has been no change in the tax slab, while the middle class and salaried people are still struggling with pay cuts and net breaking inflation. So, what is your take on this? Can we have Mr. Jhakar give his viewpoints on this, please?
Thank you, Mahima, asking this question. In fact, recently announced budget of 39.4 lakh crore, it's basically a growth-oriented budget. Its core focus is on caps, basically capital expenditure. And once that thing comes into the picture, ultimately everyone is going to have the fruits of this development. And of course, this time rebates have not been given, but because due to COVID pandemic and all, and our GDP was also struggling, for last 2 years. And this is the reason, because budget is all about, ultimately it's all about tax collection, and then the priorities are set, whether it is in some infrastructure sector or even giving some kind of relief to the common man. Yes, of course, maybe next year or so we may expect some more great relief will be there from government of India. But as on date, even if they have not taxed any extra things from common man, at least I must say this is also a kind of relief to a common person.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Dr. Amandeep, can we have your viewpoint on this question, please?
Thank you very much. I'll just add on to it. Good views by Mr. Deepak. On an average, the per capita income of anyone in India is 1.46 lakhs. And the tax slabs which we have, 2.5 lakhs is the slab wherein there is zero tax. So that means an average Indian does not contribute any tax to the country. The biggest challenge probably is we just have 5.91 crores people putting up their income tax returns. And out of this, 50% approximately is the salaried class. Right. So not giving any benefits in this budget, obviously a big challenge. People were expecting it in pandemic time. I'll just come back to the theme. The word common man. The common man came from Mr. R.K. Lakshman, the cartoonist. And it is way back in 1950s when he came up with this idea. And then it was a Delhi cartoon which was published in the Times of India. So common man basically means there are aspirations. On a year-to-year basis, we expect the government to give some relief. Another important thing which the government did last year was they brought in a new tax regime. So this year there is nothing being said about it. What has happened is the new tax regime says you do not have any benefits of any types of savings. It's just you don't have to give any returns, any information. You just have lower taxes. But the government has not given any disclosure as well this year. it should have been disclosed how many people shifted to the new tax regime and how many are continuing with the previous. To give you a fact, when I talk to an expert that why you should go for a new tax regime or why you shouldn't go, so he said if you shift to the new tax regime, you cannot go back to the old one. So that is why most of the people are continuing with the old tax regime, although the government wants people to be less difficult in filing returns. To tell you a fact, another fact, 50%, only 50% of returns are filed online using the online mode. And rest 50%, although they are filed online, but they are used the Excel utility to file the returns. So government is providing things to improve the infrastructure, improve support. But I think a little bit of benefits should have been given in this budget. But as we are going through pandemic, very important thing, I'll tell you one more fact is there. So whatever rupee the government earns, 58 paisa comes from taxes. 15 paisa is income tax and rest are other taxes. So even if it's a 39 lakh crore budget, that means 58% will be contributed by public. So I believe there should be some relief, but this year I haven't seen any relief per se given to the government here. Thank you very
Right.
much.
Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Roy, can we have your thoughts on the same point?
Yeah, hi everybody. As Dr. Amandeep and Mr. Deepak said, the common man were anticipating there would be some relief, but thankfully there is other view also. At least they have not raised the taxes. So this is one thing. So if the current regime 2.5 lakhs, the standard slab rate, it's there for almost like for 2 to 3 years, I think. So the common man they were anticipating, but it has not been done. So forget about the income tax. If you talk about the insurance penetration, is less than 10% in India. So even the tax slab there is 18%. So if you are not providing some kind of relief towards income tax, there should, the government should have decrease the tax rate from 18% to 5%. Let health insurance should be accessible to all. This is one thing. Even the deduction under Section 80D, it has not been, they should have increased. So, like the government has given, view that the capex expenditure for the current year would be 35% high. So maybe because of that, like they have not given relief, but it's like the honest taxpayers are paying and dishonest. So instead, what I see, the government should have some kind of mechanism to plug the loopholes. So more people come under the income tax bracket. So that's my like.
Thank you so much, sir. Professor Vishish, can we have your points on the same question, please? Sir, may I request you to please unmute yourself? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think am I audible to you?
Yes, sir. Absolutely audible.
In fact, the speakers who spoke before me, in fact, they touched the salient points about the tax and tax regime. In fact, as it has been pointed out, there has not been any kind of a relief to the taxpayers this year. In fact, some kind of provision, some cosmetic changes have been made in the tax laws. One particular change says that you can file your revised return if you have forgotten to pay tax on certain income. You can file a revised return and pay the taxes. This could be some kind of a relief to persons who want to convert their black income into white income by paying taxes. In fact, as far as the tax rates are concerned, we were talking about old regime, new regime. Last year, when this new regime came into view, some people asked me, should I go with the old regime or with the new regime? In the new regime, you were not to get any kind of deductions under Section 80C, and you were not to get other exemptions. So I made certain calculations. I found out that if your income is more than 18 lakhs, then for you the new tax regime is better if you claim all the deductions and exemptions. And if your income is less than 18 lakhs, the old regime is a good one. In fact, you pay more taxes in the new regime as compared to the old regime if you avail all the deductions. These were the calculations which were told. I think making so many regimes is confusing, right? I think the taxpayer is a simple person, is a common man, is a faithful, honest person. He should not be burdened with too much of confusions, making calculations this way or that way. We talk about simplifications, and by giving options, you confuse and make the things complex, right? So, as far as my personal opinion on this particular budget is concerned, looking to the pandemic COVID-19 and the conditions which has come on account of the continuing pandemic, there has been a all-round decline in the employment, all-round decline in the income, right? So those who are paying taxes, they have to pay taxes. They are the golden goose, right? They don't have a choice except paying taxes to the government. But you know that as far as we talk about disposable income, right? As far as giving push to the economy is concerned, it comes from increasing the demand. Demand has to be increased. And there is a link between demand and disposable income. And your disposable income is your income minus taxes. So if your income remains the same and taxes are not reduced, your disposable income, nominal disposable income is the same, but given the inflation, your real disposable income has come to a decline. So when your real disposable income is lesser, you cannot demand more because your income, in fact, the disposable income has declined. So when there is a decline in the disposable income push cannot be given to the economy, right? This could be one thing. And we talk about that it's a development oriented budget, its effect would be seen in the long run, right? And I think Lord Keynes says that in the long run all we are dead. We have to strike a balance between the present and the future, right? I think we should look more to the present, because if we survive this pandemic, we will look to the long run. But if we are eliminated in this particular COVID, then who will see the long run? Who will see your big plans and all that? In this particular budget, some relief should have been given to the common man. I think in this budget, a common man has been given a common treatment because he is not given a special treatment. You know that who is a common man? A common man is one who earns his income, who pays taxes faithfully. He depends upon the government. And what the government has done? I think government has not given any kind of a relief. A question was asked to Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman that you should have reduced some taxes, given some relief to the taxpayers. The answer was that if you want to reduce your tax liability, you can make an effort to reduce your income. I think it was adding an insult to the injury of a common man. So I wish something more could have been done in this budget in terms of taxes. I think some relief should have been given by way of increasing some kind of exemptions, or at least you don't keep the tax rate at the same level, but you could increase the slabs. That is, minimum exemption limit could have been increased. So that way, some relief should have been given. But I think in this budget, I think there's nothing for the common man to enjoy or to feel some kind of satisfied. I think these were my opinion on this particular issue.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. So thank you to everybody. The next question that I have is, job options under PLI, production linked incentive, are still a dream for many. How to create and acquire such jobs is still very, very ambiguous. Would you like to throw some light on this? I would like to ask Dr. Amandeep for his viewpoints on the same.
Yeah, so the plan of the government is to give around 60 lakh jobs from the PLI this year. So 60 lakh jobs probably means the various infrastructure schemes which they have provided. They have also come up with a plan of converting the 1.5 lakh post offices into the banks. So this means that there would be some digital bank units, also some scheduled commercial banks which will be set up. So this may also bring in some jobs in the government sector. Another plan which the government has come up probably is the setting up of a digital university and online programs. So probably once they set up those infrastructure, they would be providing jobs to the people who are going to do latest technologies or latest skills. Another very important concept which is coming up probably is that the central bank digital currency has been named. Along with that, they have come out with that crypto will be targeted at 30%. I'll just share one figure, very important figure to you, that over the last 50 years, it's been just 10 years that the stock market has responded positively to the budget. The stock market this year, however, it responded by negative 1.4%. But last year it was 5% during the pandemic. The stock market gave a thumbs up to the budget. So this year, probably the government has lost its vision a little bit. But there is a sector-wise allocation. This allocation probably is in the railways. So announcing 400 trains, which would bring in a lot of recruitments. It is thought of around 15,000 direct recruitment in the railway sector for developing these Vande Bharat trains. Then there has been a special budget for rural development, which is around 1,38,000 crores. So I think the focus of the government probably has been lost a little, but the promise has come out around 60 lakh jobs for this current financial year.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Roy, can we get to hear your thoughts on the same, please?
Like every year, almost 5 crore people enter the job market, right? And, if you see the pandemic, especially people in hospitality, aviation sector lost jobs like anything. So what I see, like even the governments have said 60 lakhs, they are going to provide jobs. So that will be through capex and, capex expenditure they are planning to incur. So the capex and capex investment for the current year, I don't think so. If you see the past compliance rate, it's like 60 to 70%. So even if we see the government said 60 lakhs jobs, I don't think so it's practically possible. Because at one, like in a single financial year, suppose road construction, the government says they are planning to build 25,000 kilometers of roads. But the thing is, it can happen, if you take about brownfield projects. But if in case of greenfield, the land acquisition in India, it's become a Herculean task for the government. So, like what I think, 60 lakhs jobs in the current year, that's practically not possible. It can happen over a year. This is one thing. So I said the hospitality and aviation sector loss of, a lot of people lost their jobs. And, Mr. Jacker, he must have idea. Many of the restaurant hotels, they are in red and they are on the verge of becoming NPA. So what about those people who has already lost jobs? The need of hour was to restructure their loans. The government has provided extended credit line. They have increased the allocation. But I think they should have restructured their loans. They have extended the repayment loan. So, like whatever the employment loss, again, can be absorbed in that sector. So, and third thing I want to point out. So, even the government have said they are planning to, create jobs. But I think there is an emerging area like drone services. Already the big corporates, especially in the Northeast, like Tata, they are deploying drones in a big way. So there is a chances of, emerging new sectors like those who are going to provide drone services. So there is a ample of opportunities for the, agtech guys, agtech, like graduates, as well as technical guys. They can render their services to big farmers. Even the small farmers, they can consolidate their land holdings and go for that. So drones, like that can help in crop assessment also. We have technology. So crop assessment, spraying and all, whatever the focus the government said. So this is my thing, directly job would not be created to that extent. What I see from the last, I have seen budget from the last 17 years. So 60 lakhs is practically not possible in a single year, but there will be creation of other, like entrepreneurs, startups and all, they can create. But directly jobs, even the railway requirement, that is not going to happen in a single year, the 15,000 mark. So this is my, view.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. The next question that we have is the budget 2022 came as no relief for the farmers as the subsidies on fertilizers has further been reduced. So, what is your say on this? I would request Professor Vashisht for a viewpoint. So, please unmute your device. Yes.
In fact, as far as agriculture is concerned, we say that agriculture is the backbone of the economy of the country. In fact, if we want to grow and we want to grow with stability, we need to focus on our agriculture. But agriculture has been a casualty for the last so many years. In 2017 budget, it was announced that the farmers' income shall be doubled in 5 years. So it is already 5 years. Nothing has happened to the agriculture income. Their income remains at the same. The problems of the farmer are same, right? So you know that as far as helping the farmers in growth is concerned, you need to make some radical changes in the agricultural sector. Agricultural sector have to be made an industry. It has to be made like a business, right? So every business has inputs, every business has the output, right? Every business is having a price. So similar should be the case with agriculture. But agriculture so far in India is being carried on as a traditional thing, right? A way of life and not as a business, right? And as far as the demands of the government, the demands of the farmers are concerned, for helping them and all that is concerned, I think government made some policy changes, but this policy changes have gone haywire, right? So something should be done. I think we talk about as far as increasing agriculture productivity is concerned, you cannot increase the size of the land, you cannot increase the size of the area available to the farmer. So you need to go in for some kind of intensive cultivation, that is same land but more productivity. And for helping this particular thing, you need to make experiment. We talk about a digital university. I think there should be some kind of a special institution. We have so many special institutions dealing with agriculture, but there should be a special institution. It should specifically focus on intensive farming with latest technology, right? Farms size cannot be increased. You need to train the farmers. Some kind of training has to be imparted to the farmers to use new technologies and all that. So some kind of effort should have been made. I think giving subsidies to the farmers and purchasing the output of the farmers at the concessional price is not going to serve the purpose, right? So there has to be some kind of economic on the farming. It should be treated as a business. This is my personal view. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So we move to the next question. The government has proposed digital health ecosystem, while on the contrary, the citizens of the country are still seeking basic health facilities. So how practical is this proposal according to you, Mr. Dhakar?
First of all, what Dr. Vasish told about agriculture, I would like to just add on some points.
Yes.
In fact, agriculture has been given a special focus in this budget also. Government of India has announced 1.63 crore farmers will be benefited when they will be injected this 2.37 lakh crore of subsidy for procurement of wheat and paddy. And of course, they are going for this chemical-free, natural farming also. First of all, obviously, Government of India will be going for farmers' lands on this 5-kilometer wide corridor that is along this river Ganga. Then NABARD has been roped in to facilitate and to infuse blended capital for agri startups. And we are having agri business incubation centers. We already start up in Haryana also, in Tamil Nadu also. And of course, this is the time that Dr. Vasis was told, yes, we are facing this challenge in India because this land holdings, obviously more than 85% farmers in our country are having less than these small and marginal farmers having this 5 acres or less this land holdings. Obviously, this is the region we have come up with FPO's concept. This is Farmers Producers Organizations concept. And of course, Government of India, NABARD, and all these policymakers, stakeholders, and universities also, agri-universities, what Vashishji told and Marwaji also told. Obviously, we will be going for all these stakeholders will be helping farmers in a big way. Then they have come up with this idea of these drones, Kisan drones. And yes, for assessing all these digitization of land records, then you may see spraying of insecticides, pesticides also. It is going to be a big way. And of course, agriculture is not only facing challenge in India, but all over the world. But there are programs, but once investments and this, especially these long-term investments come into agriculture, then some relief will be there to the more than 11 crore farmers of this country.
Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I think we have almost 14 minutes left for this panel discussion to close. So my next question is to Dr. Amandeep Singh. Sir, the learners in government schools were the most hit in terms of education during the outbreak of the global pandemic. So the new budget scheme proposes development of high quality e-content and its delivery through Internet of Things. So how is that a reality when those lower income groups still lack the provisions of basic digital devices and internet access?
I think what we have observed in this budget is a little shift from the Internet of Things. The government has proposed to set up one TV channel for every class at primary level. So basically, that means that every class will have one TV channel. So you do not need the internet support. So it will be available on the Doordarshan network or something like that. And for every class, there is a single channel. Earlier, it used to be a subject wise thing. So the focus, I'm not sure how viable will be the e-content for the kids, because doing basic science practicals, telling someone to use a pipette or a burette or something, and asking them to put an acid in it and then see the color is changing and all that, which probably everyone has done in their lifetime. So doing it through a TV, and once coming to the lab, if someone spills the acid somewhere, and he might just touch it and burn his fingers.
Correct.
So virtual thing, obviously infrastructure wise, Internet of Things cannot reach rural. The government thinking of coming up with a TV channel content using a televised mechanism would definitely help the poor. So this focus probably will contribute towards the development in the rural kids and the poor kids who may be just having access to TV definitely rather than having internet.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. So I think we have a provision to ask one more question. So cryptocurrency has taken a leap from being an asset to now a liability. New tax percentages have been imposed on the holders when the sheer fact of it being legal or not is still questionable. So what is your stance on that, Professor Vashisht? So please unmute your device.
As
Yes.
far as cryptocurrency is concerned, I think it is something which is in speculation only. It is not a real asset. On the other day, a student of mine was making a presentation on cryptocurrency. Just asked what is the genesis of cryptocurrency. You know that as far as a currency note is concerned, it is printed by Reserve Bank of India on behalf of the government of India. But who brings the cryptocurrency, one unit of cryptocurrency into existence? It is $1 million question and it is not yet answered, right? So there is not a base, right? If something is a baseless, I think it has to be given a base. It has to be properly defined, right? Some kind of rights and obligations have to be determined, right? If it has to be given a legal shape, a real shape, so it has to be defined. Okay, what would be the genesis, what would be the rights, what would be the liabilities of the issuer as well as the holder of the cryptocurrency, right? Mere bringing a provision in the tax laws that the gains through the transfer of cryptocurrency will be taxed at 30%, and no provision for meeting losses as far as cryptocurrency is concerned. So that means good is mine and bad is yours. So I think this is some kind of a discouraging. And one day after the budget was presented, it was stated that government does not recognize cryptocurrency as a legal thing. It is an illegal thing. So if it is an illegal thing, its income which is earned by way of its transfer cannot be a legal income. It is an illegal income, and an illegal income is not taxed, right? It is penalized. A fine is imposed. So government has to be itself sure whether it has to tax the gains on the cryptocurrency transfer, or it has to penalize or put penalty on the person who are holding cryptocurrency. If cryptocurrency is a illegal thing, is an illegal thing, the holder is doing something which is illegal, which is against the law of the land. So it has to be very, very clear, right? So my advice to the people would be that please don't invest in cryptocurrency, right? So because there is no waste, if something happens, it has already happened with regard to some holders who had some kind of cryptocurrency. They incurred losses, and they are at their own end. So people have to be very careful, and government has to be very clear on this particular issue, right? Because cryptocurrency has entered the country, right? If it has entered, people have adopted it. Maybe many people have adopted it. So government has to look for it. It has to be completely banned, or it has to be given accepted. So it cannot be two way. That is, you say it is illegal and you go in for that, it could be taxed. This is my view about it.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. So, may I request each of the panelists to give their closing comments about the budget overall and its implication on the common man? We'll begin with Mr. Roy.
Yeah, what I see, like if you ask me to compile the entire thing, so like it's all about compliance. Whatever they have announced, they should do in practical. And like Mr. Deepak said, FPOs. Last year they announced they are going to support 10,000 FPOs. It was never mentioned in this budget. Like how many FPOs they have formed and all. At least they should have given the picture. Like what is the correct picture. So it's like if you ask me, it's all depend on compliance. So whatever the things has been announced, if that things, even the compliance rate of the budget is 70, it's all normally 60 to 70%. So we have to increase that compliance rate, and especially in case of capex, the compliance rate should be 90%. Then some changes would be visible on the ground. So this is my, like in short.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Dr. Singh, your comments. Is it going to help the common man or further deteriorate his condition in the country?
It's basically, I can say there is no negative news on the taxes. That's the only positive part. There is no change in the housing loan repayment. Exemptions are the same. The only focus probably the government has done is thinking of a 5G spectrum, which would improve internet connectivity, Vande Bharat trains, digital banking, 75 scheduled banks coming up. And more important probably is the startups have been given some benefits, tax benefits. So basically only the one benefit which the employees can now get who are in the new pension scheme is that they will have 14% of their salary contribution. Earlier it was 10%, so the employer now contributes 14%. So that means a little bit more saving for the common man. Thank you.
Done. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Jhakar, your viewpoints. Is it going
I
to
must
support the common man or no?
I must say this budget is basically a growth and infrastructure focused budget. And the government of India has made its intention very clear by pushing up capital expenditure to boost robust growth, in fact. At the same time, the government has maintained continuity in terms of policy framework and process of simplification and standardization of including area in taxation also. And ultimately, where these jobs are going to come from, there has to be some kind of investment, and our country needs it. I must say this is the high time, and we must go for maximum capital investment so that more jobs will be creating, and then only all of us, including you, me, and the common man, is going to eat the fruit of democracy. That's all. Thank you.
Definitely, sir. Thank you so much. Professor Vishisht, we'll have your remarks as the closing remarks for panel discussion one. So please.
In fact, all panelists have spoken very nicely about this budget and touched the budget from different angles. To my mind, as far as this budget, we were seeing focus was simply on a common man. So this budget had taught us a lesson that a common man must learn to live like a common man. Should not expect so many reliefs from the government, right? He should feel that he's an honest taxpayer. He should keep on paying taxes because paying taxes is his dharma, right? And it has to be helped. Of course, this budget is a growth-oriented budget. It is going to generate results in the long run, maybe 5-10 years. But you know that you need to strike a balance between the short run and the long run. Because we are in problems, pandemic, spending power has become lesser. People have spent a lot of money on health and their well-being. So their spending power has been depleted. Some relief should have been given to the budget, right? There's a ghazal by Ghalib which says that "Kaun jeeta hai tere julf ke sar hone tak," right? हमने माना तगाफुल ना करोगे तुम, लेकिन खाक हो जाएंगे हम तुमको खबर होने तक. So आपको खबर होनी चाहिए थी कि we are in problem and something should have been done with regard to the common man, right?
Right.
So the common man has not been affected. To my mind, given the price rise, no increase in the income, and no relief from the government, the condition of the common man has become deteriorated. This is my say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everybody, for your valuable inputs. I would now like to invite my co anchor, Ms. Deepika Dhi, to take over panel discussion 2, the major focus of which will be budget provision and its impact on corporate sector. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Mahima ma'am. Very good afternoon to all of you. Very good afternoon to all of you. It's a sheer pleasure to have the renowned personalities with us. So let me quickly introduce you all with the next four speakers of the panel discussion too. So we have Mr. Sanjeev Chawla, who is working as director in the MSME Development Institute, Karnal, which is a field office of the Ministry of MSME. Sir possesses 27 plus years experience in MSME development in various domains like cluster development, policy formulation for MSME development, project implementation, procurement, setting up and managing technology centers spread over the country. He implemented rupees 2200 crore for World Bank assisted project for setting up 15 new technology centers. It's a pleasure to have you on board, sir. We are also pleased to have Mr. Dhruv Goyal, who is a qualified chartered accountant with All India rank 18 in the CA final examination and specializes in tax advisory and litigation. He usually advises and consults corporate clients in areas of corporate structuring and tax efficiency and is also a certified forensic auditor. He also represents various clients before legal forums, including tribunals and appellate authorities, and is also a regular speaker in various forums. Then we have amongst us Dr. Sonia Chawla, who is an associate professor and head in the Humanities and Management Department at Dr. B.R. Ambedkar National Institute of Technology, Jalandhar. Ma'am is a PhD holder in management and also holds a fellowship of cost and management accountants. Her academic excellence speaks volumes about her work. It's a pleasure to have you on board, ma'am. We are also delighted to have with us Ms. Shruti Khanejoy, who is working as Principal Associate in the Commercial Disputes Practice of Khaitan and Company, New Delhi. She holds an LLM in International Law from University of Cambridge. At Cambridge, she was on the editorial board of Cambridge International Law Journal and Cambridge Law Review. Ma'am has experience in advising clients on construction and energy arbitrations, shareholder disputes, product liability litigation, corporate criminal liability, disparagement, and defamation claims. So it's a pleasure to have you, ma'am. So let's get ahead with the panel discussion, and the topic for the discussion will be budget provision and its impact on corporate sector. So the very first question, as we can see that government seems aggressive to facilitate startups in India. So in your opinion, does government schemes have much potential to create enough unicorns to surpass US and China? Yes, Sanjeev, sir. Can we have your viewpoint?
Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Will we produce more unicorns than China and America?
Yes.
How does this budget can tell us? This is a very difficult question. But anyway, government is promoting startup ecosystem for quite some time. Since 2015 or so, we have given a lot of thrust to startups. There is a mechanism to recognize startups. There are a lot of fiscal incentives. And this year, we have given one more year to startups to grow, and then we have another incentive uh, to tax the new companies at 15%, and which has also been extended till 2024. If you see the whole budget, the developmental ecosystem is being enhanced in so many ways. Defense production is now opening up. Now we are going for privatization. We are going for 7.5 lakh infra spending. We are giving support to digital processes. So this all will lead to new and new unicorns as well. But how much will be there? It's difficult to say, because budget is a statement of expenditure and revenue, and the whole the main thing is that how do we implement the policies and the programs which are announced in the budget, and how our entrepreneurs take it, because ultimately creation of big unicorns is the onus of the entrepreneurs. Government can give the ecosystem, and this budget of course promotes the ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeev, sir. Yes, over to you, Shruti, ma'am. What would you like to say about this?
So I believe that the budget, as we can see, is very growth oriented, and it's not just growth. It's basically a focus on sustainable, resilient growth in the backdrop of the COVID hit economy. That's still reeling with it. And as Mr. Chavla also mentioned, the startups have been given a lot more impetus. There's been a lot more allocation to the seed fund. There's specific schemes such as the ECLGS, Emergency Credit Line Scheme, which was very, very helpful for the startup industry, at least in the past 2 years. It's been extended for about one more year now. There's a growth emphasis of 15% tax structure to the manufacturing units. And we understand that in the coming years, the manufacturing units which are new will take definite benefit from that. So in that sense, it also ties in very well with Atmanirbhar or Make in India scheme, where manufacturing will improve and startups in that industry will definitely get much more advantage. One thing which is very specific and very very stark about this budget is the growth, is the sustainability impetus that the government has projected, and that ties in back into the efforts that the government's been taking for about 10 years to ensure that our country is environmentally resilient to any setback that it may face with respect to climate change concerns that are resonating internationally. So, in that sense, I think startups now and invest, and if I look back and give you much more, thinking about what exactly investors and startups do look at least I'm talking about private funding. It's something to do more with how resilient your company is in terms of environmental standards. ESG is a concept that's been introduced and definitely taken into much more, you know, effect in terms of regulatory supervision. That's something which the startups itself from the beginning can incorporate, and the investment itself will also resonate with the sentiment of the government. Another thing that startups have been benefited with is the emphasis on sunrise opportunities in sectors which definitely the startups can pick up on, and the government is supporting them. So I think overall the budget itself is very positive for startups and for industry. In fact, even the seed level startups or startups who do want to raise funding, and it does look like that India should achieve the unicorn status for a lot more startups as compared to other developing countries.
Thank you, Shruti ma'am. Over to you, Dr. Sonia Chawla ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much, and a very warm greeting to all the panelists over here. See, Dr. Deepika, this is an area which is very close to my heart, and in fact, two of my students are pursuing research in the entrepreneurship. See, as far as the entrepreneurship ecosystem in our country is concerned, I'd like to share with you some of the indicators of the this global entrepreneurship monitor of the latest report. One fantastic thing has happened. If you talk to the availability of the financing options in Indian context, out of the 47 countries, including the developed and emerging economies, India's position is at number one. Okay, so as far as if our students, our entrepreneurs want to pursue their dreams, there is no dearth of the financing opportunities. But very one point which is of concern, that due to the pandemic, the fear of failure has also risen from the last 2 years. Okay, and one more indicator is the perceived opportunities which our youngsters, our students, our entrepreneurs face. That index has also come down from the last year. It was around 33%, which has come down to around 28%. So, as far as the ecosystem, entrepreneurial ecosystem in our country is concerned, in this budget, you'll see that around 60%, above 60% of the defense budget reserved for the Make in India projects, Make in India entrepreneurs, similarly for the agriculture startups, similarly for the digitization in the fintech sector, India is doing marvelous. Okay, so I cannot comment that when India will overtake China or the USA, but yes, presently the ecosystem, the entrepreneurial ecosystem is on a boom, and very shortly will be giving a tough competition. And you see, you just see that how much time it used to take to be a from 1 million to 1 billion for an organization. Now you see that it takes just 3 years or 2 years span to be, or 5 year spans to go to a unicorn and then come up with the IPO. Okay, so fantastic opportunities coming up in India, and word over the word trust the India and the Indian entrepreneur. That is why the more and more unicorns are coming, and they are coming with the IPOs also. So this time I feel that ecosystem is developing and it is going gradually. And yes, one more important point I'd like to share. Earlier, the thirst was not there in the educational institutes, but now, if you want that a student should become really entrepreneur, the government is giving emphasis that the curriculum, the adequate changes should be made in the school level education itself. Because when the student comes in the higher education as an engineering student or the MBA student, it becomes difficult to mold that student to build that curricular entrepreneurial inclination. But if these things are taught at the school level, probability will have better results in the time to come. This is my take on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, Dhruv sir, what are your comments on this?
Yes, so as all the panelists have pointed out, this is a very forward-looking budget, certainly. So the finance minister began a speech by saying that she's giving this budget for the next 25 years. So I believe a major thrust has been given to these sunrise sectors and new technologies. So for example, there has been a proposal to introduce a battery swapping policy for EVs. There's a PLI scheme for solar-based PV power modules. There's another proposal to set up a world-class university in the gift city. So all of these proposals are centered around a thrust to promote these startups, new technologies, and to promote ease of doing business in these areas. So I believe certainly there has been a thrust from the end of the government to ensure greater credit availability to such institutions, as well as to ensure that they are given an environment to grow. So, but I believe certain things are still required for the ecosystem to grow at a much greater pace. So one of those areas could be to reduce a bit of a compliance burden of such startups. So, for example, there have been multiple TDS and say audit provisions and multiple compliances that are lying on heads of entrepreneurs, which basically sometimes due to lack of awareness on their end or due to lack of knowledge on their end, there are multiple non-compliances or certain offenses which need to be brought down. The compliance burden needs to be reduced on these startups for them to grow at a much larger space. So I appreciate the proposal of the finance minister to also set up seed funds and grant funds for sunrise sectors like AI, semiconductor. So I believe these are the sectors of the future where we could see multiple unicorns and multiple big companies emerging if a proper ecosystem or a financial inclusiveness is given to such sectors. So yeah, overall in these sectors, I'm impressed by the proposal of the government to be more forward-looking and infrastructure-oriented.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the very next question is like in the recent years, government's divestment policy has been questioned extensively. And in budget of fiscal year 21, Indian government had set the target to raise rupees 1.75 lakh crores from divestment. But till December 2021, only rupees 9240 crores have been raised from divestment. So should we take the divestment as a tool to boost the economy or merely as government's obligation to provide benefits to some of the biggest corporate houses of India? Yes, Shruti ma'am.
So essentially, I think in my view, this year the divestment targets are far lower than what they were earlier. And overall, I think the government's policy itself is to ensure that the country moves forward. And it itself has not proposed divestment as a matter of raising funds for the government or to ensure that and their focus has been to ensure that every sector of the economy and every business that they are operating itself is profitable. It generates more employment, brings in much more value to the economy as compared to what it does currently being run by the government. So in that sense, divestments not only with respect to them selling a shareholding, it's also about raising IPOs, which we've seen over the past years. We've also seen the sale of Air India, which has been bought recently by Tata. And overall, I think, based on your question, divestment itself is a further smaller focus as compared to as it was it earlier. The government is now investing more in terms of improving their SEZs. Because the SEZ Act itself is now going to transform and change, ensuring that there's more of trust-based compliance as compared to regulatory compliance on every sector. So in that sense, the government's encouraging privatization. The government is also encouraging entrepreneurship. The government is ensuring that there is trust between the corporate sector and the government and who are the regulators. And the government's also holding hands of the corporations to ensure that whatever they need is provided and ease of doing business itself improves. So in that sense, divestment is just a part of it, at least in this union budget. And emphasis is more towards we are here to help you conduct your business.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, Sanjeev sir.
This is a very big question, how to handle this disinvestment. In the initial 5-year plans, we have been pumping in more money for government manufacturing assets, and now we want to disinvest all this. Disinvestment is a very, we have a special department for disinvestment, and they are doing work day and night to go for disinvestment. There are so many issues, valuations, then labor laws. Of course, we had a target of 1.75 lakh crore last year, which could not be met. But now let's hope LIC IPO comes in March itself or February. So we come little closer to what we have revised our last year disinvestment target. Now government has understood that they need to move out from certain areas like, manufacturing, let it go to private sector. In defense, even ordnance equipment board has now been corporatized. So government is moving in a calibrated manner in this direction, and in a budget of revenue, when we seek revenue of 22 lakh crore, this 50,000 crore is not a very big amount to be raised through disinvestment, but it tells the entrepreneurs that that government wants to come out of this, and now defense manufacturing is now being opening up, other strategic sectors are being oil exploration and other things are being opening up. So government is taking concrete steps in as far as disinvestment is concerned, but the thing is it's not an easy cakewalk. So they have so many, and now we government is maturing in all this, and so many departments are being corporatized, and after once they are made corporation, then they can go for disinvestment. So this is, we are going to, I think, achieve the next year target from disinvestment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Sonia ma'am. Kindly unmute yourself, Sonia ma'am.
Yeah. As far as disinvestment is concerned, it has always confused me. As far as I understand, disinvestment is one of the modus operandi to generate the revenue for the government, like the other modes are through the taxes or the other thing. But one bone of contention is that there are certain organizations which are Navratnas are performing very well. Why to come out of those organizations? And if we say that there should be public-private partnership, or the private enterprises should come into, we can make the sector open, not keeping it reserved just for the government sector. But if the organizations performing well, so they may continue with that. But it is also, at the same time, it is also true that government cannot look after each and every segment, like Dr. Sanjeev is saying, that in coming to the insurance, and then from agriculture startups, and then in defense, and in oil exploration, we want to give a thrust that yes, the private sector should come and invest in this. So for me, disinvestment is just a tool for the revenue collection for the government. But at the same time, initially when we had the socialistic pattern of the society, that we want the welfare of the people, everything was controlled with the government. Now we want that there should be more privatization, and gradually, if you see the Western countries, if the country has to gradually grow more privatization, more people need to come and invest. From that aspect, it can be thought of. But as far as I understand, this is just one of the method, one of the modus operandi to garner the revenues for the government.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, Dhruv sir, can you give your opinion about this?
Yes, ma'am. So basically, disinvestment or divestment as a concept is just as ma'am said, another stream of revenue or cash flow for the government. So basically, the idea of divestment for the government was to maybe cut off or sell off their stakes in certain loss-making enterprises, just like Air India, or there are multiple such public enterprises that are there. But what the government has found it difficult to do is to sell off such enterprises. For example, we have BSNL there, which had about 8 to 10,000 crore loss last year. But given the state of such sectors like telecom, the government is finding it hard to find buyers for those enterprises. So in turn, what has happened is government has had to offload its stake in profitable enterprises like LIC, because those are enterprises where private sector is interested in coming into. At the same time, the government has had to rescue certain loss-making private enterprises. Like recently, they had to buy into Vodafone Idea, or formerly in IDBI Bank. So the divestment as an idea has been a mixed bag for the government, wherein they've had to rescue certain enterprises and not been able to sell off the loss-making enterprises. But yeah, the recent sale of Air India is a positive sign that there may be a possibility of a public-private partnership or a partial offload of stake in various other loss-making enterprises as well. Because I believe, just as the Prime Minister said last year, that the government has no business to be in business. So the role of government in any industry should be to be a facilitator, or to maybe kickstart a fresh industry or a new industry, and gradually exit once the industry matures and develops. So I believe but in this year, since the target of divestment is much lower, so the government has realized its or revised its overall plan to maybe not be over ambitious with its target on divestment, and to instead focus on being a facilitator for industry at large. So that is what I feel.
Thank you so much, sir. All right. So moving towards the corporate surcharge. So if we talk about the corporate surcharge in budget 2022 to 2023, corporate surcharge has been reduced from 12 to 7%. But there is no relief in tax slabs for middle class, which covers a large percentage of population. So would it not have been better to give some relief to middle class? Because in India, if we talk about middle class will have money to spend, especially in pandemic era, then only it will ultimately boost the different markets and economy as well. So can you throw some light on this, Dhruv, sir?
So, so basically, your question is whether there should have been more incentives for the common man as well?
Yes, yes. Because there is no relief in tax slab for middle class.
Certainly, ma'am. I share your sentiment in that regard, that certainly there should have been more incentives for individual taxpayers. And obviously, whenever a common man or a taxpayer looks up to the budget, he looks up to it with an expectation that it would eventually lead to a reduction in his liability. But I believe since the overall scheme, or say the focus of the government in this budget was to fund its infrastructure projects. So in that case, since 58% of our revenue is coming from taxes, if we further reduce then our dependence on borrowings increases even more. So this year, say the borrowing is about 35% of our total cash flow, and taxes is 58. So there's an interplay between the two. We reduce the taxes, so we increase the borrowing. So I believe that is what has kept the government from giving more relief to the individual taxpayer. But certainly there could have been certain relaxations with respect to the new regime that was introduced last year. There could have been much simplification in those areas, because I think if those slabs are reduced, or those basically rates of taxes are reduced, there may be more compliance, or maybe greater coverage of the tax net when it comes to individuals. Or maybe in the last year we've seen a wave of work from home culture. In that sense, maybe they could have given some incentives to salaried individuals who have had to spend more on, say, internet facilities, say on laptops or basic IT hardware they'd have to invest in the last 1 or 2 years. So maybe there could have been some incentives in those areas. And I believe even when it comes to surcharge, the surcharge has been reduced for the cooperative societies, and for the corporates, it has stayed at the 12% level only. And even when it comes to corporates, the taxes, the taxes were reduced last year from to 25%. After that, there has not been much relief in the corporate sector as well. So overall, the theme of the budget has been to stay put when it comes to taxation rates and taxation slabs, and to instead look at funding the infrastructure and development.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. So over to you, Sonia ma'am. If we talk about the GDP also, according to the budget, India will become $5 trillion economy by 2026, right? And government predicted for fiscal year 2022 that the GDP growth rate at 9.2%. And contrarily for fiscal year 23, it forecasted growth rate from 8 to 8.5%. So why is this a negative estimate? And in this manner, would be able to achieve the ambitious target to become a 5 trillion economy?
See, government has revised its estimate for the GDP for this year. This is 9.27, and for the forthcoming year, it says 8.2% or 8.5%. Government has given a pessimistic estimate, and if you compare it with the estimates given by the different world level organizations, it is lower as compared to that. Okay, so I feel that it is a achievable standard. India will be able to achieve it, and that is why it is considered to be the fastest growing economy in the coming year. And the kind of projects government is undertaking, government has planned to undertake, and if the projects are undertaken in that spirit, with the increase in the capital expenditure, which has been increased by 35% due to the multiplier impact, it will have an impact on the employment generation also. It will have an impact on the production also, increasing the PLI scheme and including the number of other industries under the PLI schemes, giving thrust to the entrepreneurship and to the startups. Okay, so I feel that it is, but it will be the question you asked, that it will be able to achieve of having a dream economy. I cannot say at this point of time, but yes, the growth rate is quite achievable and a very realistic target.
All right. Sanjeev, sir, what would you like to say about this, the GDP?
I know I'll take something, from the previous question, taxes on corporates. So I'm more worried about MSME taxation. Corporates are paying taxes at 25%, and new companies are paying at 15%, but our MSMEs are paying 30%. So that is a very big problem. Uh, Cooperatives also this year have been brought to 15%. So why they have left MSME? That is an area of concern, because MSMEs are mostly proprietorship firms, and proprietorship, your profits are taxed as your personal slabs. That's one issue. Second issue is this, that we are talking about reduction of taxes, and everybody wants reduction of taxes, and we know we are a deficit economy. We are earning 22 odd lakh crore and spending 39 lakh crore. So the current account deficit last year was 6.9%. And if we, compromise on taxes and reduce the taxes, then current account deficit will go much more, and our quality of living will come down. So there's a very difficult trade-off between balancing the expenditure on infrastructure or reducing the taxes. So government is always in a very tight spot. Regarding this GDP, because our base is maybe less than they are projecting more GDP growth this year, and why the calculations are too less, it has to be seen, because the base will increase, or what are the other factors. So we need to analyze more on that.
Thank you so much, sir. All right. So, moving towards the next question that is there. As the government has proposed to introduce the digital rupee using blockchain and other technologies that is issued by the Reserve Bank of India starting 2022 to 2023 for more efficient and cheaper currency management. So, how do you feel it is going to be different from cryptocurrencies? Yes, Shruti ma'am. What is your opinion about this?
So there was a lot of noise on this specific issue the moment the finance minister announced the budget. One thing that I think all of us have now clarified is that cryptocurrencies are not legalized. What has been introduced is one, the government introducing its currency in digital format, and second, that the cryptocurrencies and NFTs will be taxed at a certain rate. So these two specific developments, one, are forward looking. Second, they give hope to the community that yes, at one point we can see this as a step that the government is taking towards legalization of cryptocurrencies, and of course bringing in a regulation around NFTs, which is definitely a positive step. It has resonated well across the board. And yes, the movement in cryptocurrency indices do not really help resonate that specific sentiment. But yes, of course, introduction of these two specific developments in the sector gives hopes to everyone, including the players in the industry, the investors. In fact, the way laws are also framed around these issues and the way they are being considered as legal, or the regulation of them will be understood towards more formulation, more structure, and it also gives us an opportunity to think and see what exactly can we expect in the future from the government. Specifically because this budget itself has longer projections. It's a long-term budget instead of short-term relief to any specific sector. The government's thinking is quite clear, and it's a positive step in the direction of ensuring that digital currencies, in whatever format, are introduced.
Thank you so much, Shruti ma'am. Yes, Dhruv sir, if we talk about the defense sector, so keeping in view the allocated budget for the defense sector, till when can we envisage independence of India in defense sector? And can we shift from one of the biggest importer of arms to the leading exporter in this case?
Ma'am, I believe this is a good step in a good direction, that we are focusing more on indigenous production. There's a larger budget for domestic R&D. There's a proposal to include startups to engage in R&D along with the government. So all of these proposals are good initiators for the development of this sector in India. But certainly this is a very intensive sector wherein a lot of investment is required on end of the private enterprises as well as the government to maybe achieve the status of a manufacturing hub or to reduce our import dependence. Because when it comes to defense, there can be no compromise on quality, and there has to be an international standard that has to be complied with. There are multiple, because if you look at today, most of our import of defense equipment is either from the US or from Europe. So the major reason for that is their superior quality and say the focus of the governments in those countries in the initial years on building capacity in those areas. So I believe the current budget or the proposals in the current budget are a good step, but we'll have to look forward to the schemes that are eventually formulated in those areas to look at the final details as to how the startups or say the private enterprises, how much would they be contributing, and till what levels the access would be given to them in the fields of research, because this is also again a matter of national security. So access to say the correct personnel or the intelligence is also a great factor in this area. So we'll have to look forward to the schemes that come.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, last question to Sonia ma'am. In budget 2023, right, government allocated 19,500 crores PLI to boost solar PV modules in India. So will it be fruitful, and is it going to ensure the dependency of India in this sector?
Yes, it is. It is fruitful, and in fact, on the productivity enhancement, government has taken a very crucial steps. Like the government has introduced the integration of central and state level systems through IT bridges, then end-to-end e-billing system, then utilizing surety bonds for the government procurement, and in fact, the government has the support of 5G under PLI scheme, and this battery swapping and giving the thirst to this area. This is definitely going to boost this sector. Deepika madam, I would like to add to one of the question you asked about the cryptocurrency, which Shruti has taken. About the cryptocurrency, you see that when the government stated that it will come up with the central bank digital currency, when the currency is introduced, it has to be backed with the sufficient reserves. Now, the kind of cryptocurrencies we have, we don't have anything at the back. The kind of cryptocurrencies which are being floated by the private players. But when the government will come, it will, I suppose, and it should be backed by the sufficient reserve, because the government says that it will be, you can exchange the physical form of currency with the digital currency. And secondly, the government has introduced a tax on the cryptocurrencies, but I don't understand if at present point of time, the digital currency, I mean to say these cryptocurrencies are not a legal tender, then how the illegal income can be taxed? Probably there will be more clarification when the cryptocurrency bill comes into in this financial year. The things will become more clear in the times to come.
Thank you so much, Sonia ma'am. So I would request all the panelists to have the closing comments on the budget provision and its impact on corporate sector. Yes, Shruti ma'am, what are your closing comments regarding this?
I think the budget is a very positive step towards the growth of the country. It balances really well what exactly the country was going through during the three pandemic waves, how well the country has boarded itself over the past 3 years. It's a step towards making India as Atmanirbhar Bharat. It has taken into considerations India's promises to both the corporates, the citizens, as well as the international community towards building India into a sustainable, climate change resilient, towards infrastructure. If we talk about the Prime Minister's Gati Shakti project, All of these have been considered very well, married to it, and a long-term perspective has been taken to ensure that the country reaches a greater height. The country develops much better, and the corporate sector in India is also, let's say, supported very well in terms of them complying with the laws, them introducing more growth towards themselves, to ensuring that the laws itself are much more streamlined.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, Sanjeev sir.
Thank you, Deepika. One thing, about, I'm not able to resist myself to talk about cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency, what I have understood is two different things. Number one, cryptocurrency has not been approved. Cryptocurrency has not been approved. Currency means something with which we can buy something, we can exchange. Crypto currency has been accepted as an asset class, and government has announced 30% tax on gains on that asset class. Number one. Number two, 1% turnover tax has also been imposed on that. These taxes are very high, but still that rupee, digital rupee, has to come up. That mechanism has to come up. Digital currency has to come up. When digital currency will come, then we will come to know how it is back. Like Dr. Sonia Chawla has told, it will have a backup, and currency can be exchanged with a physical currency. Government of India, RBI, will come out with a robust kind of mechanism, and because we cannot resist cryptocurrency in the times to come, we are already late by 2-3 years. We have to adopt some system of cryptocurrency that can reduce the cost of transactions, and we can have transparent uh, legal transactions through blockchain technology. And government is moving in that direction because India is a very big country and we have so many dimensions of terrorism, this, that. We cannot come out with a system which can sabotage everything. So government will come out with a robust mechanism. This is my take on this. And regarding closing remarks, first of all, I like to thank the university for organizing this program so that our students feel connected with the budget. And then Dr. Harish Sharma has also told very well that our students should know something on election mechanism also. This budget is based on long-term vision, capital expenditure focused, technology focused, and based on an ecosystem which can further nurture entrepreneurship in the country. Of course, it doesn't give any personal goals, and which the people will have the benefit after long-term implementation, like PM, this 100 cargo points in which rivers, roadways, airports, everything will be connected. Our exports will become competitive. We have already achieved an export of 300 billion and likely to achieve 400 billion in this year. So this export will go further because we will have lesser cost of logistics. So the vision is great in this budget, and I hope that with the implementation of this budget programs, we will be achieving betterment of the common people as well. And the budget has to be seen in the recent developments in the country. Budget is not a document which is issued in isolation. On defense production and on privatization, we are moving in a calibrated manner for the last 4 or 5 years, and the things are happening on that front. Budget is just a milestone on the way. So I thank the organizers of this webinar and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, Sonia ma'am, what are your closing remarks on this?
See, my closing remarks are that I look forward this budget to be very positive for the Indian economy in the times to come. As our finance minister said that when she was preparing the budget, that this budget is going to have implications for the Amrit Kal, that is for next 25 years. And I see that India is going to rapidly grow because of the huge thrust on the infra spending, because of the robust exports we have, because of the strong capital flows we have, and very impressive vaccination rate. But the certain areas of concern, like is the global price hike of the crude oil, on which we are heavily dependent, and secondly, supply side disruption. Those are the areas of concern for the economy. But the focus of the government on the PM Gati Shakti, on the inclusive development, on the infrastructure development, on productivity enhancement, sunrise opportunities, giving thirst on the energy transition, and even the Prime Minister said in COP26 in this budget, if you see, the emphasis has been on the climate action, financing of investment. So I feel that the budget is going to be good and give a lot of opportunities to the people in the times to come. Thank you. And I am very obliged to the management to have me here. And I am privileged to listen to the other panel members also. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sonia ma'am. Yes, Dhruv sir, your closing remarks.
So, ma'am, I believe the budget is a good statement on the intention of the government to focus on infrastructure and technology. There are a lot of proposals and discussions regarding infrastructure development, logistics development, the Gati Shakti program, battery scrappage, EVs, PLI. So there are a lot of proposals that are focused on infrastructure, but I believe the devil would lie in the detail as to how they are implemented, as to how the government basically is able to, how much interest the government is able to acquire from the private enterprises. So that is something that we'll have to look forward to. Apart from that, the changes in direct tax, I believe the major change has been with regards to cryptocurrency. So I believe the government has played its card pretty well, wherein it has stayed away from terming crypto as illegal, but it has also not made it legal. So in a way, it has been able to tax it. So yeah, the tax of 30% is at a higher level, but there would have been a possibility that it could have been much higher as well. So I believe we should take what we have got. And apart from that, I believe we look forward to more incentives from the government when it comes to MSMEs. That is something that has been missed in this budget. There are not a lot of incentives or reliefs, or compliance burden has not been relaxed on the MSMEs. So that is something that is missing. But overall, good development oriented budget from the government. That is all from my side. I'd like to thank the Institute for inviting me for such a discussion, and also had a great experience listening to all the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So thank you everyone for your insightful pointers. Thank you so much. Over to you, Mehma ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So, may I request all the panelists to please join in? We'll have a quick question answer round and then we'll come towards the closure of the confab. May I again request all the previously added 4 panelists to please join in? We'll have a quick question answers round. I repeat, may I request all the panel members to please join in? I think it was an absolutely productive discussion that we've had. So I'll quickly ask 2, 3 questions that I have been receiving from the audiences. If you all may see, there is a chat option available. So anybody who'd like to answer the question can send in a thumbs up or a +1, and I'd know that person is willing to answer, or otherwise I'll ask in random order. So the first question that I was receiving from the chat option was from Mr. Ashutosh Jha. He says, just like Ma'am Sonia added, he also mentioned that can we call this budget a stepping stone for Amrit Kal? And then there is also another person named Uday who's been asking, can we call this budget basically something that was the budget of 1991? under Narsimha Rao at some level? So anybody who'd like to answer and throw some light on this one?
Yes, I'd answer.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
See, when the budget was introduced in 1991, the major structural reforms were introduced. The status of the Indian economy at that point was altogether different. Okay, so we cannot compare the time in 1991 with the 2021 or the 2022. There's a lot of difference between the two things. The foreign reserves we have at that point of time and the foreign reserves we have today, there is a lot of difference. Okay, so I'd say that yes, this budget is going to make a difference in the times to come. But as I was listening to Mr. Dhruv, he time and again emphasized that it is how we implement the things. The things are planned. We planned of the disinvestment target, but actually we could not materialize it. Okay, so budget is we have planned for the times to come. If we actually realize the things, everything which is in the budgeted, that is definitely going to make a remarkable changes in the Indian economy.
Correct. Thank you so much, ma'am. Another question that the audience has been throwing up is imitation jewelry, too dearer to the common man, came with a tax imposition of 20% or rupees 400 per kg in comparison to diamond jewelry, which came with a rebate and would benefit only the upper middle class. So, in your opinion, is it leading towards class differences? So, what is your hold on this? Anybody who'd like to answer this one? Dr. Amandeep, can we have your thoughts on this one, please?
I would rather have heard it from the ladies on the jewelry part. But
Actually,
obviously,
when we read the budget now, I am not going into so much of the details and taxation of the jewelry and all those things. So,
no,
so I
so
probably may not be the right person to answer this question.
okay, so maybe the observation is correct. Imitation jewelry is probably donned by people in today's scenario. In every marriage, there is no risk of theft, so
Right.
most of the middle and lower middle, they are into this imitation jewelry, being taxed at 20%. Obviously, it's an unorganized sector as well. There are very less stores which are giving in organized manner. So taxing more probably means just to uh, increase the revenue for the government. Maybe it doesn't impact the lower class because most of it is either imported as well from China as well and other countries making this. So it might not be directly impacting the lower middle class and the middle class, but yes, giving incentives to diamonds. Diamonds today are also middle class, not upper middle class. And I was just reading some statement. Kapil Sharma said, "I am also middle class." He says every day in his show, and he himself pays 15 crores as income tax.
Right.
I don't know what is the definition of middle class today. So diamonds probably are forever and are part of every woman's jewelry these days as well.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Maybe
much.
I'd add into Dr. Amandeep's answer, but I know that the number of startups are increasing in the imitation jewelry. This is, I can add to it, because the love of the Indians, and particularly love of the Indian females for the jewelry, this is a huge potential area where the startups are coming in this field.
Right, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. So, adding on to initially in the first part of the panel discussion that we were having, I heard Mr. Vishish add on to a comment which was, made by our finance minister. So, I also received one such question. If you want to reduce your income tax burden, reduce your income, said our finance minister Nirmala Sitharaman. So, is this a sarcastic comment on the daily wage earners, the hawkers, and the workers who got major blows from the COVID cuts and apparently lost their jobs? So anybody who'd like to comment on this one? And I think this will be our last question and we'll move towards the end then. So is it a comment on that
I'll
those
I'll
daily
I'll
wage earners?
I'll
Yes,
just
sir.
take a minute and would like others also to. Uh,
Yes, sir.
so basically, it's not a common man. The challenge which I told earlier as well, that income tax in itself is rates are very high, but the corporate tax are lower. So the entrepreneurs and business people, they tend to not to pay income tax. So basically, reducing income in this scenario means for professionals or for businessmen to divert from showing income tax rather than using corporate tax for their benefit. So for a common man, probably it's just a sarcastic comment by not giving any relief in the income tax slabs, but it may trigger other people to shift from income tax to corporate tax by making more startups, more companies, more trusts. So this is my view. I would ask others to also please comment on this.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Mr. Goyal, can we hear your comments on this, please?
So I think this is a comment in, maybe it was sarcasm, but it was a comment in bad taste. So yeah, I think reducing incomes or reducing income to reduce the taxes is not the solution. The solution is to increase the tax base and then reducing the taxes.
Right.
Because we would never want the incomes to be reduced, because that
True.
would only increase the disparity that we are talking about. The
Definitely.
solution is to increase the tax base.
Definitely. Thank you so much. So, thank you so much, everybody, for such a productive discussion. As we move towards the last phase of this confab, I take this opportunity to formally introduce another pillar behind this webinar, our very own head training and placement, Mr. Jatinder Sadhana. Mr. Jatinder Sadhana is a confident, creative, and highly result oriented management and marketing professional with over 14 plus years of distinguished performance in trainings and placements, corporate relations, and marketing as a whole. Mr. Sadhana is a proactive manager, a great team builder, and a tactical planner with the ability to attract and secure key players in building strong and long lasting business relationships, and has been acknowledged by varied industry experts for his decisive leadership and proven ability to meet hurdles and challenges heads on. I would now like to request Mr. Jatinder Sadhana to deliver the vote of thanks. Sir, please.
Thank you, Mahima. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a wonderful day that we have hosted this erudite panel discussion with some brilliant thoughts put into word beautifully. And while we have come to end of this panel discussion, I would extend a sincere thanks and heartfelt gratitude to our Honorable Chancellor, Shri Tarsem Garg our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Harish Sharma ji, and respected Dr. Sunayana Kurana, Director MMIM. I'm also grateful to all the intellectuals who managed to join us and share their wonderful viewpoints. Once again, on behalf of MMIM and entire MMDU fraternity, thanks to all the dignitaries and panelists who have joined this event today. And what I have observed in this entire panel discussion is, so we discussed about a middleman, GDP, cryptocurrency, startup, and I believe this discussion would have gone to many people outside this world today. And they have definitely made out some beautiful points out of it. So I would like to thanks again to all the panelists, and thank you, Mahima. Thank you for all.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, everybody. I, Mahima Sindhi, would now like to conclude the purposeful and action-packed confab. We have with us approximately 1,000 plus viewers who have been tuned in since the commencement of this talk show. I, on behalf of the whole MMTU family, appreciate, acknowledge, and extend my gratitude to all the respected dignitaries, faculty members, and students, and each and every attendee who stayed till the end. Trust me, this wouldn't have been possible without your zeal and support to make this confab a reality. I request the attendees to share their feedback about this webinar in the chat window, although I can already see the chat window being flooded up with positive comments. We all would love to hear from you and know if we could drive home the point and make a lasting impact. Kindly note, e-certificates will be issued to the attendees who fill up the feedback cum attendance form. Do not forget to fill the feedback form that will be sent to you via WhatsApp or your email. Make sure you fill that and grab your e-certificates. Do not forget to like, comment, share, and promote this productive talk for which we all have gathered today on every social media platform and spread the word among the masses like a wildfire. Educate others and uplift each one, since we rise by lifting each other. Remember, every little step can end up creating ripple effect and might help us strip our country, India, of the widened gap between the rich and the poor. This budget 2022 is overall growth oriented with a clear focus on digitization, electrification, infrastructure development, and ease of doing business, aiming to propel a long-term growth of the Indian economy. We would now like to conclude the session on a high note with a hope in mind to help our economy bloom and outshine. Jai Hind, officially signing off. Thank you so much, everybody.